All right, hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 2 of the now officially named
The Sound and the Vision.
The Sound and Vision podcast. Thanks so much for returning back with us.
Welcome again.
My good friend Matt.
Hello.
And I am Damien. So Matt,
What's up?
let's talk about something that's been crazy about internet.
Sure, absolutely.
And that is anonymity.
Yes.
Anonymity seems to create this bizarre circumstance where people feel like they can get away with saying anything off the top of their head,
Sure.
even if it's really, really mean.
Yeah.
Like cyberbullying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this has been particularly crazy with this whole Brianna Wu death threats
Oh, the whole
coming
Gamergate
from
business.
people who claim they're part of Gamergate.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anita Sarkeesian, renowned as a feminist who has had a lot of backlash, so much so that her talk in Utah got canceled because there were threats of there actually being weapons brought to the talk if she were to actually come on stage.
Right. Well, the threat I think was a rampage of murder and blood and death, and I think the concern was that there would be no way to stop them if somebody wanted to bring a weapon into the talk. But yeah.
That's right. Well, actually, did they even say that it was going to be in the talk? They might have just said, we're going to rampage somewhere.
I guess it wasn't specified, but I guess it was implied. I don't know. But either way, it's a scary thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, is there anything that we can really do? I mean, how do you stop somebody from bullying and using that anonymity to sort of...
Yeah, I mean, really, as long as there is no accountability, I don't think that we're going to be able to stop it. I mean, even now, like on schoolyards, even when kids are not, when kids are not anonymous, we still see horrible things. Like I saw something about on the news today where a bunch of kids got in trouble for helping out this autistic kid do the ice bucket challenge thing or whatever, but instead of ice it was feces and spit and just disgusting things in the bucket, and it's just more of the same. These assholes doing horrible things to each other for the lols.
Wow. And I think what's worse is that the thing with schoolyard bullying is it's always existed, it's always been there, but it's been a narrow percentage of the population that will actually go out and do these kind of things. And I think the big difference is online, you don't have to think about, I'm going to have to approach this person, I'm going to have to walk up to them. And then when I walk up to them, I'm going to have to do something physical to them. And they might react back, they might hit me back or do something, or I might have to live with the repercussions of seeing their reaction. And if you actually have a conscience, that might hit hard. That might just seeing somebody take the brunt of what you're doing to them actually gives some people pause to do it. Whereas on the internet, you could just throw out, I'm going to kill you. And then you can turn off your screen and go out and have fun with your friends and not even think about it. And somebody else's day is completely ruined.
Yep.
Or
absolutely.
day. I mean, there have been even people who've gone off the deep end because they read something online and they take it so much to heart. It's just...
Yeah. Some game devs just have quit. They can't, or they don't want to deal with it anymore. And it's completely reasonable. These jokers are, I don't know. It's a horrible thing. It's a stupid, retarded, horrible thing.
Yeah. I think internet's kind of it's a double-edged blade. You have to... You have to sort of accept the nature of what it is because there's very little capacity to police it. We get any sort of law enforcement involved and closure and restrictions and censorship, and suddenly it's not the internet anymore. Then we have this weird thing that's going on in other countries where everything's sanctioned, and then it's different. You have the freedom to get away from it though too, which people don't want to do, but it's definitely always an option.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where to draw the line. It's just another tool, and every tool can be used for good or for bad.
Yeah, I think ultimately there should be like vigilante justice, people that just scour the internet
Oh man, but
and
then that's another rough thing because that's what these GamerGate guys say that they are. You know, they're bringing down the feminists that are, you know, quote unquote, ruining their lives. You know, I, you know, in their own minds, some of them are their own version of that vigilante spirit. You know.
so maybe there's as much problem with the feelings of everyone being sort of like victims of something or another.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean that's definitely part of the GamerGate thing, where you know there's right now there's a battle over the gamer identity, where you know gamers ever since we were small there was always this, you know, this image of gamers as some persecuted minority, um, and now that it's no longer the case, um, people haven't gotten over the persecuted minority mindset, and now that there's plenty of people now, you know, they still think that they're being persecuted even though they're no longer really a minority or really being persecuted now, you know, and now they're the bullies, you know, it's the classic thing, you know.
Yeah, and this kind of thing really
That,
blows my mind. I mean, we're talking about like let's think about this in global terms. You have somebody that grew up in a
mhm.
first world country where everything was protected and sanctioned for them. You're able to go to a grocery store and get any number of foods that you could possibly want and even eat to fullness and then even throw extra stuff away. You have a hot shower, you have electronics in your home. You're a gamer because you have things that use electricity that serve no actual purpose to sustain your life. In my
Yeah.
opinion, like you're rich, you're elite.
Mm.
You have things that other countries can't
Yeah.
even dream of. And for
Yeah,
you to
first world
say, "Oh, I'm
problems.
being persecuted," well, they're saying things about me. It's like
Yeah.
you have water. You just turn a
Yeah.
little knob and that stuff just comes out of the faucet for you, and at a very nice, you know, monthly installment fee that
Yeah,
you're
yeah, and some people disagree with the way that you think about about a game that you play.
yeah.
Eh,
And
okay.
ultimately that all comes down to the experience that somebody else has crafted for you. So really
Yeah.
you're a consumer and you're enjoying some consumed product and somebody else enjoys it in a different way and you
Hmm.
guys have a scuffle and it's like war out there. But
Yeah.
it's war of words, which it strikes me funny
Hmm.
that some people are so affected by, but some of those words are really pretty brutal. So it's
Yeah.
hard to
Yeah.
say. It's hard to say, "Oh, just, you know, brush that off your back. Just be a duck."
Yeah. You know, some people really take the identity thing really to heart. You know, so some people, this is who they are, and they have to protect themselves, and you know that, like, you know, they don't really want to look into it too
Yeah.
much.
I guess the ultimate thing you could just say is be really cautious about what sort of stuff you have online, like links to your home address or things that people can
Hmm.
possibly get in touch with, like who you are as a person out there. These kind of
Mm.
things are scary, you
Yeah.
know. There are a lot of celebrities out
It
there
is
that
scary.
won't even set foot out of their home, or if they take footage of themselves around the house, they
Mm.
won't step out in the front street so that people don't know exactly where
Mm.
they live.
Yeah.
You got to be cautious in a world
It's a
where
shame.
information can be traded at such a high level. Or you could just, you know, leave the earth and say, forget everybody out there. Let's move on to just another ecosystem, another environment altogether.
So, life on Mars.
Oh, great Bowie reference there.
Yes. um, so, what do you know about this Mars One business?
Yeah, so I guess Mars One was this whole this company, not for profit in the Netherlands, that is
Mhm.
taking people in this weird sort of reality TV, narrowing down pyramid thing to a few people that get to actually go on this. I guess it's a 7 month trip to get out there
Mhm.
and go live on Mars in a glorified porta potty thing.
Wow. So, is this really a thing?
This is really a thing. They're actually looking at something in the 2025 region to getting their
Wow.
first launches out there. So I mean, definitely, it it's looming in the great scheme of space travel and exploration and all this sort of thing.
Wow.
Putting some of us out there on that surface. Although, if you're really spending your whole time in your camper, are you really camping? You know, I mean, that's a big question. Do they get to wear suits? Do they get to go out there and like make Mars sand castle things? And what's there to do? Or do you just stay indoors all day long?
Yeah, and then when you're done, do you come back? I think
That's a big question. So one of the big problems, they have tested all of the biosphere devices that they're making, but they've tested them in zero gravity, and they're worried that the Mars gravity is going to create problems with the devices and how they work and how long they're going to last, and that they're going to break down. That they're going to have to send out more shuttles to repair them on the spot, and that this could mean the untimely end of the people that go out there on this mission.
jeez.
In which case, yay, you got away from Earth, and you're one of the first people on a new planet, and you might have 4 months to live. Or if you're doing really good, you might be the one guy who's alive, and nobody else is out there.
And you've turned the rest of them into food.
Right?
Oh man,
Hopefully you have
that's
these.
terrible.
Yeah, that's a horrible thing.
Man, I think I read that they were going to be turning that into some sort of reality show.
Yeah, so that's part of the reality show is incorporated not only in, I guess, what they will inevitably do while they're up there on the planet, but also the narrowing down process. So we started with I don't know, like 200,000 applicants. That's already gotten down to the 1,000 like runner-up folk that are actually going to go head to head and appear
Wow.
on the show, and it'll be like this Earth's Got Talent thing to try to get people up onto the red planet over there.
Wow, there are that many people that are just willing to throw their lives into the ether.
Yeah, so that's a question. I mean, would you visit Mars? Would you take that commitment?
Maybe in like 100 years, when the technology is up to it, when you can go up, walk your dog and then come back, you know, I think then it would make sense. But yeah, unless I was like 90 years old and willing to just throw my life away for a cause, then man, I don't
Yeah, I
know. No
don't know.
way.
There's also the 14-month round trip, so it's 7 months one way. That's a little over a year of your life that you've given up being out on a spaceship. I mean, some people
Yeah.
that's the dream. That's an ultimate fantasy in and of itself. Is I want to be an astronaut. I want to be out there on a spaceship. But if you think about it, you're in the same closed quarter, tight little area, the same people day in, day out for
Man.
more than a year. And these people just won a contest with you. They're not like your best buddies.
Man, that is definitely a recipe for space madness.
So maybe that's going to be the next MTV, like real world,
Oh man. Oh
real
man.
space. Can you survive the human interactions before you survive life on Mars?
Oh man, that just sounds like a horror movie. Oh, jeez.
You don't even have
That's
to have a
scary.
monster. It could just be
Yeah.
people having to deal with other people. We're our own worst enemy.
Mm,
Now, is that a
yeah.
lit or a
Yeah.
pink reference? So I think ultimately the interesting thing about Mars is that it speaks about a society where we have reached a level where our money and time is in some ways largely spent on things that have interest but maybe very little use.
Hmm.
It's just sort of the urban path to our technological development. We start to become kind of useless to ourselves. And in that regard, have you heard about the? It's in New York City. It's like a bar that is now offering artisan ice
Uh-huh.
in its drinks.
Artisan Ice.
Absolutely. So if you have this ice, if you order an ice drink on their menu,
Hmm.
you get the artisan ice for free. But you can also order drinks from the bar, like martinis and whiskey drinks, the things that don't naturally come with ice in them.
Hmm.
If you're being good about it, you can order that with the Artisan Ice as well for only $1 more. But that's $1 for
So
ice.
what exactly is Artisan Ice?
Hang on one second. Where's my? I'm coming unglued.
Uh-oh.
I can edit this in post.
So so what exactly is Artisan Ice?
So, Artisan Ice, the company doesn't even like to call it this. The company that started this, they call it hand cut rock. And what they have is like the absolute purest water that has nothing in it, no minerals, no tap stuff, no chlorine flavor, no nothing. And
Hmm.
it's cut into cubes of like translucent or actually like almost nearly transparent solid water, and that's it.
Hmm.
And it's so
Okay.
dense and so cold that it is supposed to add almost no, well, actually add no flavor whatsoever to your drink, and very, very slowly melt, so it doesn't water down your drink, not for quite a long
Hmm.
time anyway. And it keeps everything ice cold, just like you would want from ice, without all the downsides.
Jeez. Man, New York.
Yeah, this is a thing.
Wow. Is that because the cupcake craze over there has ended and now it's the artisan ice craze has now started or
Well, it depends on what sort of date you're going on. You got to have a little something useless for whatever sort of venue you're doing something kind of cute. You're watching like a new Pixar movie, maybe going out and getting a Build-A-Bear or something. You're going to want a cupcake. Absolutely. But you're having a night on the town and you're going to a club, maybe you're going to see a show or just get out and do some nightlife things, then you're going to want hand cut rock in your drink.
Man, that is crazy. Like, I've seen bartenders, that take the ice pick and
Oh, yeah.
make the nice shaved, hunk of ice, but
Hmm.
man, that's taking it to a pretty crazy extreme.
I don't know. Like, I want to say this is something that everybody is guilty of in one avenue or the other. So,
Sure.
if you really think about it, there's something in your life that's near useless
Mm.
that you go out and get. What is it? Think about it. Think about this one. Something out there. You're actually dedicating your time and money to getting something that's just it's
Yeah.
urban. And by urban I mean like completely without any
Okay.
use
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Um. So yeah. So since my kids have been born,
Mhm.
um, I've kind of cut down on most of my extraneous spending except for board games, role playing games, dice, and all that crap. Yeah. It Most of the time, 99% of the time, it sits unused, unplayed in my closet. A fair number of these games will not be played for a very long time, if ever.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think that yeah, for the most part, all these board games that I've got piled up here are definitely a I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's certainly a yeah, that's something I'm guilty of for sure. How about you?
That is awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least it's dedicated to having a fun time, expanding different ways in which you can interact with
Sure,
people.
except these days, with the kids and my schedule being full and everything, really, my the ratio of these games being played to not being played is it's yeah,
So
they're kind of
I guess the kicker is, are you still buying these games with the intent to play them, knowing full well that you don't have the time to do it?
yeah, 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 absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
How about you?
Okay. Yeah. Definitely for me, it's got to be the world of apps. So,
Apps.
yeah, I absolutely. Oh, that's a horrible pun. I without a doubt, I love life hacking and do-it-yourself stuff and optimization. And I am always like going out on the limb and trying out the newest forms of ways to optimize and automate my life. And I'm just dropping, yeah, just dropping money left and right on different things that I purchase from the store. Just on whims or on people's merits through reviews on new apps saying, "Oh, this is the next biggest thing. If you liked making to-do lists before, try out this app, and it's gonna clarify and organize everything in your life, and suddenly you'll have all this free time to do stuff." And you'll get things done that you've been putting off all this time, and you're gonna have like Jarvis on your phone, like the automated assistant on Iron Man.
I see.
Everything's just gonna like
So
click, and you'll be one of those super future elite people.
are you one of like, was it the one of the 1% that spends 70% of all of the in-app money or whatever?
I'm sure I am, as a matter of fact. Yeah, there's a lot of microtransactional sort of things out there, and other apps that are, cheap one-time purchases, but they cohere with everything else in your life, or they integrate things into your life, and I'm addicted to that sort of like, I want to hack every aspect of my life, and I basically want to be Iron Man when it comes down to it.
Well, I can't fault you for that. I think everybody really wants to be Iron Man.
I don't know. I think everybody's got their own favorite out of the ensemble of the Marvel world. Yeah. For me, it's always been Iron Man, though. I've always been that guy that likes to tinker, do stuff with my hands, and then reap benefits of my own artisan crafted world around me that is doing my bidding for me. Something like that. So, speaking of taking things into your own hands and being sort of master of your world, you're a huge gamer, and I know you love especially the tabletop experience where you especially do a lot of the dungeon mastering, game leading, the storyteller sort of aspect.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite format? Like, what kind of games, like, outside of the whole PC and video game realm, but
So like the analog tabletop
the analog gaming, yes. Is that a term? I think it should be a term.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that my favorite would probably be, tabletop role-playing games.
Okay.
Although I do play a lot of board games simply because, well, they're fun, but they're also much easier to get to the table. With role-playing games, you have to have your, a steady group or whatever, or at least it helps. And you have to have something.
At least a day for everybody to make characters.
Sure, yeah. Depending on the game, it requires setup and this and that.
Yeah.
To me, it's immensely more satisfying. While a board game, we have 3 players. Okay, well, I have this 3-player game. Just pop the box open, throw everything out, and then it's its own thing. And it's great. But yeah, I think that RPGs just have a better return on investment, I think.
I can see that. Now, what's your take on the sort of games that kind of bridge that gap? Like, you have some character sort of, maybe it's choose from a hand-selected group of pre-made characters that have some stats, and maybe you open up the rules and it takes maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes to read through before you actually know what you all are doing.
So
but
something
then,
like Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror, something like that.
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love those games. Those definitely bridge the gap. They really, those definitely satisfy the urge. If you're trying to get an RPG going, but your friends are, not quite into that one yet, and it's a good way to introduce them to story gaming. To put a little bit of a narrative.
Oh, that's true.
Into the game, yeah. I really like those games, and especially now this month, this is the time to play Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror or Touch of Evil or any of those really awesome, flavorful, narrative horror games
Would
for
you
sure.
say that there's like a maybe a disproportionate amount of horror in this like sort of practical gaming as opposed to maybe other genres of like movies? There's so
Not
many other things besides horror, but it seems like
not
there's
really. In my personal collection, there is certainly a very heavy slant towards horror. However, in the gaming sphere, horror is kind of a very small slice of the pie. Um, in all of board gaming itself, in particular, there's Euro games which have a very um, light theme most of the time. You're usually farming or trading goods in the Mediterranean or some boring crap like
now
that.
what's a Euro game?
Oh yeah, so yeah, there's a pretty large divide in well, conceptually, I suppose there's a few different ways of categorizing games, and one of them is Euro games versus American games, or Ameritrash, or for example, I don't know if you've ever played Settlers of Catan.
No.
It's one of the most popular games where all the players play. Well, you don't really have roles, but the idea of the game is that you are trying to stretch your settlements out on this island, and you're trading sheep and bricks and wheat with each other, and rolling dice, and it's it's a resource management game, and there's some math, and it's very dry, but it's fun because you're interacting with the players around you. But it's a problem solving game.
Okay.
That's sort of what Euro games are like. And it's very dry. You're moving little people shaped markers around called meeples, stuff like that. They're fun, but usually theme takes a back seat. You might be a camel trader, and you're trying to do something, and as opposed to American style gaming, in quotes, like Arkham Horror, where it's extremely flavorful. The theme is really the main conceit of the game, where the theme is really the point of the game. You're rolling dice. It's really random. You go around, you fight things, and you're following the theme around, and you're having fun based on the theme. The mechanics may not be quite as tuned and highly precision like a Euro
So just
game,
like with
but
everything else, we dumb it down and we flavor that ever-loving crap out of it. The sweet's
absolutely,
more
yes,
sweet,
yes.
the savory's more savory, the Michael Bay's more like Michael Bay,
Boom,
right?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and of course there are games that kind of bridge the gap, but I think if you talk to any board gamer, and you ask them what the difference is between Ameritrash and Euro games, they will probably bring up Arkham Horror and Settlers of Catan. Those are sort of like the two poles that people use as reference
Okay.
points.
One being a great math and macroeconomics tutorial, the other one being
Yeah,
like
yeah. Although
basically
I think Sellers,
gambling with a horror theme.
yeah, absolutely. Although Settlers of Catan is still very popular, but it's not quite the king of the hill as it used to be.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a game that a lot of people know.
So this being October, what's your favorite horror themed game out there?
Oh man, I've been talking about Arkham Horror a lot, and that used to be my number
Hmm.
one. Um, and I'm not saying it isn't, but Eldritch Horror, sort of its spiritual successor is pretty great. However, it only has one expansion for it so far, and Arkham Horror has like
Now,
10
is that just
or
because
something
Arkham Horror's been
ridiculous.
out longer?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Arkham Horror, it's been out for like 15 years or whatever. Eldritch Horror came out. When was the last time I saw you? Like two
I
years
think so.
ago, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's about. Yeah, that's really the only difference.
And that was an amazing game. I'm going to have to make a
Yeah.
personal vote on what's the name of that game where we were all playing and suddenly we were turning against each other and one of us was absolutely the bad guy, but some of us were just going crazy. We weren't really a bad guy to each other, but because of our delusions, we started shooting each other, and it had like a big mansion layout.
Oh, is it Oh, that's right. Well, there was Mansions of Madness.
That had to have been it.
That was well. There's another similar one called House on a Haunted Hill.
So that detailed description I gave you wasn't detailed enough to narrow it down.
It could have been
either
of those.
Out of all the board games that involve a mansion where people go crazy and start going off on each other because of the madness in their brains,
oh man!
I mean, you're gonna have to be more specific than that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I bought them at about the same time because I think that the Mansions of Madness came out, and just about at the same time there was that reprint of House on Haunted Hill, and I had bought them both at the same time, and I think that you and I played them within a week of each other, and and I think that we had very similar experiences on both games.
Moral of the story: go out and try both of them just for kicks, and you decide.
Absolutely.
All right, so I guess that about wraps it up.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much for joining us on our second episode of the now labeled
Sound and Vision.
Our new label, our new titled podcast, Sound and Vision. In case you didn't know, that is a David Bowie reference. Check that out.
It's a great song.
It's an amazing song. Yeah. All right. Tune in next time where we'll talk about cool things that are cool and stuff that we like. And maybe you like it too.
Yeah. As usual, shoot us an email. Our links will be in the show notes. Hit us up if you have any comments or questions or something you'd like us to talk about.
And if you're viewing this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe or like and keep us doing what we do best, entertaining you.